You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Well, howdy. Welcome to this week's episode of the Good for Business podcast. We have a super special triple bonus episode with the Mississippi Mason Honnoll. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Thanks you all for having me, man.
Well, I thank you sneaking in here to Catfish Alley Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And rumor is you got a single dropping next week. Is that true?
That's right. Yeah, The Man That Killed Susan Talley. I wrote that a long time ago. And
There
been
you go.
sitting on this thing for a while because we just felt like it was just too good. So, yeah, it comes out.
Well,
Comes out
cool.
this week.
Well, tell me an origin story, man. Where are you from? Where was the little Mississippi Mason cutting dirt at?
All right. Well, I was born in the hospital right here in Columbus, Mississippi. So I'm not too far from my stomping grounds, if you know what I mean. But I grew up in New Hope, Mississippi. And my dad was in Southern gospel music. He was a Southern gospel singer for a quartet called the Hartman Quartet. And so, yeah, growing up, I kind of got drug around in music. I was kind of the guy that had to pick up all the heavy stuff because they didn't want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The roadie.
Yeah.
So
The volunteer, non-volunteer roadie.
Man,
right?
I tell you. But that's what I did, man. I recorded. I mean, I picked up heavy subs and all kinds of stuff and put it in the trailer, and we went to the next place. We kind of stayed around Alabama. And, but it's based out of right here in Columbus, and that's where I'm from. And my mom's side of the family is all from Sulligent, Alabama. And so we kind of got a mixture of a little bit of Mississippi, Alabama line kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really thick line. I tell people, like, as soon as you cross that border over to there, you pass up a couple farms and things change.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, you go over and you get into Gordo and Vernon and all that sort of mess. And
Oh, yeah.
even Pickinsville and Aliceville, they got some differences, as I say.
Oh, yeah. They different. That's for sure.
So what's when did you start playing music and singing?
Oh, well, when I was with my dad's group, I always kind of wanted to do music, and I always sang with my mom at church. I went to church in Magby, a Baptist church, right across the street from Nissan down in Columbus, and we always kind of sang together at church, and people seem to love it, I guess. I used to not sing unless the preacher gave me $1. I just wouldn't sing for some reason. I don't know why. But so I did that for a while, and, watching Andy Griffin's show and all that kind of stuff. I always wanted to play a banjo. Every now and then in Andy Griffin's show, they pull out a banjo or a guitar and play something, And I always wanted to play a banjo, but my mama told me that I had to play guitar first because she didn't want me just to go on the banjo, probably because I drove her up the wall.
Yeah.
And so my mama went to a pawn shop here in town. I think it was Diamond's Pawn and Gun off of 82 there.
Yeah.
Got me a cheapo guitar, a little bitty guitar. But I tried to play it. Couldn't really get much out of it. So my cousin, who's now called Hippie Steve, with Steve Honnoll, he hangs out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're part of a legendary family.
Oh,
now,
I
so.
know. That's my cousin. So my mama knew he played guitar. So she paid him a few dollars, just to come out once a week and teach me a couple chords. And he did that for a while, but, after I kind of got going, I guess he said you can just see how far you go on your own. So I kind of did my own thing for a while. And it wasn't long after that, I had my mom's side of the family also does music, but they do a lot more singing. And so I had another cousin that was opening for my dad's quartet in Gatman, Mississippi.
I've heard of Gatman.
And he let me play guitar with him, opening for my dad's quartet. And that was quite a bit of time back. But from there, I just been playing. I would play a lot of cover songs. I didn't try to start writing songs till later. But just played music and performed from there. But it all started at church, believe it or not. But,
wow. So when's the first time you started performing in public? Because there's a big difference between singing at church, and...
Okay, so let's see. Public not being church. Let's see.
Because church is a bit of a safe space. Yeah,
that's right. They're gonna tell you great.
It can be polite
one way or not. Yeah, probably. I would say probably Caledonia Day. 2000 and whatever year that was. Actually, it was before that. I was playing at these Opries, the Sparta Opry and the Longview Opry around Sturgis, Mississippi.
Yeah.
The Tags Restaurant on 45 North. You know what I'm talking about? Heading towards Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know where you are. Yeah.
Every Tuesday night, they used to have music out there. And I would get invited to go out there and play a few songs. And I would get a free meal because of it. So I was there every Tuesday.
You were working for your supper there.
That was right. I was there every Tuesday. I got me a meal. They didn't care what I ordered, so I ordered the most expensive thing.
Steak and shrimp and loaded up.
Every time.
Yes, I would like the salad bar.
That's right. And I guess it kind of branched out from there. Before that, I was specifically only playing in church, just pretty much just all gospel stuff. But I've played country stuff at home, and that gave me a chance to play in public with some country music and, of course, some gospel too. And yeah, that Caledonia day would have been right after that.
Yeah, because my formative time meeting you was you weren't just starting, but I remember hearing you were in the back of a truck. And I think Hunter Peregrine and Tony Hanna at the New Hope Parade brought me over to make sure I saw you. I think it was at the Christmas parade.
It probably was.
And then, as you said, the next year you graduated to a full trailer bed.
Yeah, so. That would have been 2022, I think, when we met at that first Christmas parade.
Yeah,
I had a new Christmas song that was coming out called "Run, Run, Rudolph," about Rudolph and deer hunt. And it's still out, but it was coming out. So we didn't have enough time to get a band together or get a trailer. So I just got in the back of my dad's truck. We put 2 speakers on the side and blasted it. I think I had 2 buddies falling behind, throwing candy out.
Yeah, they were throwing. I had to pull in front of y'all because I was like, man, this is loud. And I was in my little car. How old were you then?
I would have been 22, yeah.
You've had an extremely long career for somebody as young as you are. You started as a wee lad playing in public?
Yeah, so when I started playing at Tags in Sparta and outside of church, that would have been 2017, 2016. So I would have been it was when I got my truck, basically.
Yeah.
when my parents, I didn't have to depend on my parents taking me places.
Yeah, I'm a little worried now. My daughter's 16 and we just got her truck and she doesn't play music or anything, but I'm a little worried about the trouble she's about to start causing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand that.
That's what it's for. So is it the stuff you've trained over time, has it been gospel, country, and then have you started branching off into blues and rock too, or is it just kind of?
Well, believe it or not, when I was the way I came up playing music, my dad was strictly gospel stuff. So of course, gospel was the first thing I learned. But I grew up listening to a lot of I think it was WKOR back then, which is here in town.
Yeah, I
think it may still be WKOR, which I think it was before Cumulus got involved in the radio station here in Columbus. And so we didn't have no MP3 player or nothing like that. So we just listened to in the car, the radio. And that's where I learned a lot of country songs. And I remember we would call up there to the guy and say, hey, play that Lone Black Train by Josh Turner song. It was around that time that song came out.
Yeah.
And so, of course, right after gospel, I was doing country. I mean, I'm talking about straight country with like Johnny Cash and still some of my favorite songs. But, Johnny Cash had big blues influences. So I went, it's kind of weird because country and blues to me is almost the same thing, almost to me.
Yeah.
If you listen, I had a record come out that year that we met each other at the Christmas parade. Just the Way I Am. That's a record that came out, and it's got some serious blues songs in it, but it's got some country stuff in it too. And but now I feel like I'm more of a Western guy, cowboy songs from my Boy Scout days, and we love our cowboy songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you start getting on that fine line between blues and country, and I like my father was a professional singer. I like to say he was not a world-class tenor, but American-class tenor. Like he sung in opera and sung in shows in New Orleans and stuff. And we knew a bunch of famous singers and stuff around there growing up. And that's what they would talk about. They're like, well, country's just dry blues.
Right.
Just not quite as much depth to it sometimes and sometimes slowing it down. But part of that was everything went off in a little branch. Everything, I kind of believe everything started in the Delta personally, that
Yes.
anywhere cultures mingled, like New Orleans and the Delta. And a lot of people like to go, we're the birthplace of this. I'm like, it didn't happen in 1 second.
Right.
There's maybe 6 or 7 artists in history where you're like, okay, that happened and there's nobody else influence on it. But, and wherever there's a melting pot.
Well, I'm telling you, it's where the Delta, it's Mississippi in general. And parts of Louisiana, you got, Jimmy Rogers. He was like the grandfather of country music. That's what they say. But all of his stuff is basic blues.
Yeah.
It's basically, he's writing songs. He's from Meridian, but he's writing songs about being on Beale Street in Memphis. And he's also cutting songs with Louis Armstrong from New Orleans. And, of course, you got Robert Johnson from out there.
Yeah, that's the biggest when you talk about they're doing reverb and they're doing feedback, and you're like, Robert Johnson's literally walking around with the first 100-foot amp cord back in the day when nobody else was even thinking about it,
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that area. It's like Delta, New Orleans, and I'm sure there's it's even outside that area, just like something about it. I don't know what it is.
I think it's crazy river towns anywhere there's water appearing when it's supposed to be there.
Something in the water.
That's what attracted me to Columbus. I was like, it's a crazy river town at the end of the day.
Right.
There's some unreasonable people here doing wacky things. So
that's right. If you ever go to Munson Brothers, all those guys are musicians out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just I really like Munson's out there.
Yeah, we were talking. I was friends with Ron when he was a stockbroker, and now the 7th time I've mentioned on the podcast that it's one of the most unreasonable things ever to quit being a stockbroker and open a candle and beard wax store, and then start selling beer and pizza. And he has, to a fault, been paying musicians for years.
Yes.
And it's really starting to work now, where people are going, okay, I'll come there and support the musician.
Dude, Columbus needed somebody like Ryan for real.
Yeah.
It was when I was real young, they had a few, like Princess was still big. It's still kind of, they do some stuff.
Some stuff. Freddie Fields had the blues place for a little while. You would have been
the Elbow Room as well. But a lot of it, like when I got my truck, when I started going in high school and stuff, a lot of these places kind of dried up a little bit. And the only places still left to play was like some serious, like some bars. There's nothing wrong with the bar, but like for a 16-year-old going to a bar,
going to the Miss Alla Club or something.
It just don't look. It looked
just like the Toby Keith video did. Honky tonk type stuff. So.
And so the fact that they got Munson Brothers here, it's like a huge asset to Columbus because man, Columbus needed it bad.
Well, and people are starving for live music.
Yes.
They're starving to share. They just have to get there.
Right.
You got to get the people out of the house to do it.
That's right.
It really is. And so that's one of the things that Market Street does a good job here. They had Braden up on stage, Braden Sansing, who had Braden's helping you with the album and helping with promotion and stuff. Just to get to see those people in person and give them a venue where they might not be seen before is a whole part. And here you are we originally started this podcast. It's good for business. Like it was supposed to be about business and entrepreneurship, but now it's just turned into they're good for business. Like they're good for the world and stuff like that.
Well, like even with me doing, to me, music is my business. That's what we do, and it's what we do.
So
enjoy it.
So how long since you left? I say New Hope in Columbus.
Well, believe it or not, I used to work with Josh and Josh Gillis, who owns this place,
Catfish Alley Studios, Mississippi's only Web 3.0 studio.
And I was working for Farm Bureau. God, I hated that job. I don't care if they know it or not. But anyways, I did not like that job. Anyways, I left there. I was always teaching on the side, teaching guitar on the side. And I started up with Josh in 2023. And we was teaching out there first at the First Baptist Church, the old First Baptist Church here downtown. But then we went to the Lee High School, or I guess it was a high school. It was a school over there by Sunflower.
Yeah, Lyceum, the Golden Triangle Theater, all
That's
that.
Where we was there for a while. And then he had an idea of buying this place, and
a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Let me tell you something. This sucker was rough when we looked at it the first time. It was rough, and man, I was like, man, Josh, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a lot of money and time to get this place up and running. But man, I never thought it would get to this kind of level.
He's hitting his stride. So I told him where I was booking some stuff on Tuesday for some guests coming from out of town, and he's got He's like, well, I got 9 appointments that day just for podcasts. I'm like, what are you going to do? He's like, oh, we'll just do different rooms. And he's got,
and
he
they're
built
all soundproofed.
Yeah, built it from the ground correctly so that when, just like Munson Brothers, when the stage is finally ready, then you've already got the musicians lined up.
Well, it worked out perfect because this was, Music Alley, and the way it's just designed, everything's soundproof pretty much to a T, kind of thing.
Yeah, we've recorded through some lessons here, and there's some kids, like you open the door and you hear some kids banging out there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're learning their craft. Now, while you grab your guitar, we're going to take a break. We're going to go here, and you're going to come up with your first song. If you want to make it of the era that we're talking about, you can, but otherwise play what you want. But I did want to point out one thing that we noticed on the wall out there, that there is an MM in the Catfish Alley logo. That's if you ever come look at it. So there's only one other thing on there, I think, that's BS and could be for Braden Sansing. We're going to go with that could be BS or not. So tell us what the name of this song is, and when you play a little ditty.
All right, this is me and my wife. At the time, we was just dating. We was trying to write songs together, and we would get frustrated all the time, right? Well, we finally found one that we really liked. Both of us liked, and this is called the Mississippi Waltz. The mockingbirds are talking above me, 'cause they know my story of the time when she was mine, swaying in the southern breeze, and now it's just a memory. We danced the Mississippi Waltz. We danced the Mississippi Waltz. My true love is gone away with the wind, as we danced the Mississippi Waltz. Down by the creek where she left me, 'neath the shade of a magnolia tree, we would dance holding hands the last time we would meet. Sweet Lord, have a mercy on me. We danced the Mississippi Waltz. We danced the Mississippi Waltz. My true love is gone away with the wind, as we danced the Mississippi Waltz. All right.
That was nice, man.
Yeah.
So that's what's the name of the song again?
Mississippi Waltz.
And where can they find that online or the interwebs?
Oh, they can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere they listen to music. It's on YouTube Music, everything. It came out on an EP called Solitary Man.
Okay.
That came out on August 1st. Yeah.
So have you had any grown-up musical training in your life other than your cousin and friends teaching you to do stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I'll put my guitar back. So, we was talking about some gospel music earlier. I go to church at Magby, or I grew up going there. Well, at the time we had, I was playing kind of our worship band at the time. This would have been 2014-ish. Well, then, after a while, our worship leader left, and we had to get a new one, a new worship leader. And they got one of the guitar players from Ethelsville, Alabama, the Ethelsville Baptist Church, who is a Chet Atkins style player. So he plays finger style. this was the first time I really got some professional like training, right? And a guy named Richard Miller, he used to own a company here in Columbus called Miller's Music.
Okay,
Yeah, he used to also own Miller's Dry Cleaning.
He's cornered the market on the Millers.
That's right. And but he was like an insane guitar player. He's still out there at Magbee, and he taught me my first finger style, how to play it, correctly and stuff. But after a while, I went to Delta State, to the Delta Music Institute in Cleveland, where I got some. It's more of a music business, where we learn guitar or professional style guitar, how to run bands and stuff, but also how to do business and music, entertainment kind of style.
Yeah. Well, is half of that learning path, don't sign this, don't sign that?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's true. Or they said the first person you should hire is a lawyer. That's what they tell you. The first day, you get there the first day.
Well, that was funny because I was talking to somebody, there's somebody else here from New Orleans, and they're working on getting Master P here. Not related to country or anything else, but huge rap guy and stuff. But he's a pioneer in the music business for taking ownership of every facet of it. And it's odd because best example I have in country music, which even though he wasn't loved by every artist, was Toby Keith.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson spoke highly about him a lot, that nobody wanted him, so that when he finally broke, he's like, well, I'm going to have ownership of production, A&R, all of it. I'm going to have the whole stack, and I don't need y'all anymore.
Yeah, so there's that sound. He probably owned the sound recording and the publishing,
Yeah.
My wife's a big Taylor Swift fan, and she's known for
she fought back.
She fought for years trying to get that her sound recording side of the copyright.
Yeah.
And
well, not to date our podcast, but of course she just got engaged this week, which has been tough for all of us. Yeah, it's just what are you going to do? You give up on the dream, right? Yeah, but she very forcefully took back, not only re-recorded her stuff, but then bought it back, I believe.
Well,
right?
she re-recorded it because she owned her publishing side, which allows her to re-record her stuff, but doesn't allow her to take her recordings that she did back in the day. And halfway through all of those, she finally had a chance to buy back the other side of her copyrights. So she just. It just came under a new owner.
Well, normally people do that, and they're on a 20-year production deal. Like, they probably don't read the fine print. Of course, a lot of it is they have to tour to pay back their advances and stuff.
Right.
And my kids were asking me about Oasis, because Oasis is a British rock band that's touring right now, and nobody's heard of them. I mean, they've heard of them. They've been relevant, but they haven't put any albums in like 12 years, and they hate each other. And then all of a sudden they went back on tour. I'm like, might want to look at when the 20 years of their big album came out. And it was like 20 years in a week. And then they're like, hey, we're friends again. Let's go on tour. Because they're getting every penny from every song they play. It's
a big deal, to have ownership of that. A lot of people don't care, but they care when it starts generating a lot of money.
Well, even though I know you're not talking about billions of downloads and stuff for you on Spotify, but correct me if I'm wrong, most of the complaints from artists on Spotify are the ones who are in those first 8-year deals. And like, Spotify is paying somebody 30 cents every 100,000 downloads, but like, they're only getting 1 cent of that because everybody else is in the way of them.
Well, like even me, I own all of it, all of my stuff.
Yeah.
Still, it still don't pay a whole lot.
No.
It does if you're Taylor Swift.
She's hanging in there. She's doing pretty good. I brought my kids to Taylor Swift's one of her favorite artists, Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey.
Yeah, and so I called in every favor I had to my friend in Jackson, and we got pit tickets when she played down in Brandon, which is absurd that she was even playing in Brandon. But she played there. We got in the pit. I'm there with the 4 other dads in the back, and I told my kids while we're there, I'm like, this girl she's eyeballing me. Lana Del Rey's eyeballing me.
Lord.
And they're blowing, they're laughing at me as a joke and didn't think about it again. Then a year later, she married a crawfish boat guy in Louisiana. That's who she's married.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, she married like a normal dude, and I'm just sitting here like, there might have been something to that. I could have had a chance. Get her on my airboat.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. My wife also loves Lana Del Rey. I listen to Lana Del Rey. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, it was funny. Like, I did just like any dad, everything your kids listen to. Maybe not with your dad if he was a singer, but like my dad was trying to force opera and classic singers on me my whole life, and now I appreciate it, but I didn't while it was going on. Well, they were playing it. I'm like one song, and then on the ride down, I listened to her whole album, and then I saw the show, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, I get the mystical, wonderful. Like, I was like, great salesmanship, production, all. Like, I was like, that's all part of it. Because sometimes, as you can't just go up there and hold a guitar and be like, it would help if I had some lighting. It would help if this was in a honky tonk.
It's all about a look and a sound, and what enhances the actual song. The song is the most important thing, right? If you got a crap song, or if you got a song that you feel like you're not about, if you're not about it and you're singing in front of people, it's just not going to sound as good. But if you have a great song and you have like lighting and even pyrotechnics and stuff like that, it all enhances it. That's the whole point of that stuff. So
yeah, and that's the edge of the singer-songwriter versus the performer. When they get to that stage where some people are just performers and are just unbelievable, like can do the whole thing. George Strait's a good example of like he is standing still and you're just like, even if you don't like the music, you're like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. It's captivating. So, so you went from here to Nashville first? Is that correct?
No, it's in Cleveland, Mississippi. Okay, Delta Music Institute.
Okay, no, I didn't mean about school. I was talking about once you're done there and you're grown up.
Oh, once I'm done there, yeah.
I skipped over your whole education, but it's all right.
I got engaged, and I was kind of waiting for my wife to graduate from there.
Okay.
And she graduated in 2024 from the same place, and we was going to go to Nashville. And so that meant it was just my time here at Catfish Alley was going to come to a close. And so we got married. We bought a bus because we actually travel a lot.
Yeah.
And so we bought this big old motorhome. I mean, it's not a small one. It's a pretty good size one. It's a lot to keep up. But that's what we live in. And we just travel a lot. So like we have a festival. My wife's a painter. So we do a lot of festivals, and sometimes I sing at these festivals, and sometimes she sells paintings. And so we'll be at the Prairie Arts Festival tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. And we was gonna bring our bus, but our door handle broke. So it's
you don't want to crawl in and out of the window.
Well, I don't want to be driving down the road, and then all of a sudden our car comes by and our door goes with it.
And make a good song.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it definitely would. So, but we bought that. We headed to Nashville, and we was out there for, 5 months, something like that. And it's a very different world out there than it is here. Yeah. That's for sure. And it's just a lot of competition, an extreme amount of competition, and it's more expensive to live out there. So we moved. Well, we came back. We're staying in Greenwood now, but we was going to try out Texas area because I do a lot more Western style stuff anyways. So we're just kind of floating like a feather for right now,
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah.
Well, you got time, and if you can make it, you can make it. But the big break is a real thing, and a lot of it is people say connections, but sometimes it's one connection. Sometimes it's you're at the bar playing an open mic night, and the headliner guy you're featuring and the headliner doesn't show up. Yeah. I heard a story about Ron White, one of the redneck comedian guys, where he's like, "Well, I was supposed to be." I was just at an open mic night and people knew me in town. And Sam Kinison, who is this legendary comedian that used to just scream all the time, he's like, he was coming through Amarillo, Texas, and his opener got drunk and missed the bus. And he's like, and I was drunk, but I was at the comedy club. And they put him on. He's like, and that's it. He goes, I didn't know anybody else other than the manager at that comedy club. And you were ready and you were prepared, and he had his own jokes. And
that's what you just got to be there. You got to be. You never know when that time's going to come, but you better be ready when it does come.
Yeah.
Because you never know when that opportunity gets here. And, like on my website, I always wanted to play at the Opry. I see people up there that you can tell they haven't been playing too long. And then some people have been playing for 60 years before they go on there. It comes when it comes.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for it when it gets here. That's the thing, so.
Where'd you end up playing when you were in Nashville? You were just
I played
knocking on doors and all that, or?
Oh yeah, well I played at, what was it called, Comato, or I forgot the name of the place. Is in Franklin. Christina's laughing at me, but it starts with the K. It's like Komoko or something like that. It's like a bar that had an open mic.
Was it Kokomo's?
Kokomo's.
Okay, there we go.
You ever heard of that place?
I've heard of the word Kokomo, so that counts.
I think it's Kokomo.
Okay, it should be.
It had some palm trees in their logo or something like that.
Is that Beach Boys? Is that not the Beach Boys?
I played there several times, and actually the people that was running it was from Oxford, out of all places. So there's a lot of Mississippi people in Nashville.
Holy cow. You know, there's a lot of, when I moved, we came up here with Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago this week. And we went up, then we moved up to Oxford for like a year and a half, and then came back here. So I say we're the only people in history to have moved away from New Orleans and Oxford and never went back.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the first place I go is City Grocery up there. And there's a guy I worked with in New Orleans who owned that. And then like met somebody else. And like there's a huge arts and cultural scene there,
Right.
you know, like a lot of authors and stuff. But that's how, like Michael Ferris Smith, who spent a lot of time in Columbus, is an author and he's got a band now. Like he's like, well, I was talking to somebody else and I was like, well, I've written a couple books, and he's like, well, talk to my agent, you know?
Oh yeah.
Literally just having a casual drink, not.
Yeah.
He's like, meanwhile, he's like, you know, I'd emailed hundreds and thousands of people trying to get something going, and then you meet somebody, he's like, oh, I'll send it.
It just takes one person. Yeah, you just never know. We shotgun blast stuff all the time, you know, send the DMs on Instagram and stuff. Nothing ever come from it, but you meet that one guy in person. A guy named Jeff McCluskey out of Chicago, man. You can message him all you want to, but when you see him in person and you get to know him and stuff, he invites you to stuff that he's doing. Like he used to do a festival. He's a radio promotion guy called McCluskey and Associates out of Chicago, and he was promoting a festival on the radio in Chattanooga called Moon River for an artist named Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. And man, he would just say, "Hey, if you come up here, I'll pay for your hotel room." I'm like, "All right, I'll be there." You got to meet all these guys, but you know, you can call people, you can send people messages, but they don't really know you. When somebody gets to know you, I guess they're willing to help you out more. But
well, a lot of that I've seen in the music business and stuff is that they have to be able to count on you performing.
Yeah.
So it is one thing sometimes sitting on a chair at Munson Brothers, and then all of a sudden you're in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people. And there's a lot of bands that have crashed. There's a lot of, especially like I know a lot about like rock bands and blues bands that have crashed when they've left their little town.
Oh yeah.
And it isn't because somebody didn't like them or there's some mean promoter. They just could not handle either. They couldn't handle the slight fame part of it. Most of it was like literally the being tight and performing, you know?
Oh yeah, that's it. You know,
Which
it's such a relationship business. You know, it's such a relationship business that like you have two guys, one of them's even better than you, but if this guy has the right connections, he's going to get it there.
Yeah. And you're not going to let the five people ahead of you down, the promoter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. That's just how human nature is. I feel like, you know. It's all right.
What's the biggest show you've gotten to play in the last couple of years?
Oh, let's see. The biggest show you talking about with the amount of people there?
Either that or important to you or both. You know?
Well, actually, the biggest show that was most important to me would probably be the show we put on with Braden. It was at the First Baptist Church. We've rented it out, and we put on this. It's basically just me and all of my buddies.
Yeah.
Just come together to do a concert. We had Ethan Oswald open up, and one of my favorite buddies, Thomas Sanders, we call him the Little Killer, because he plays like Jarrett Lee and sings acts just like him too. That's sometimes not a great thing, but
yeah,
it's all right. He'll tell you the same thing. Old Thomas is a great guy, but you know, that was a pretty important show for me and for Braden too. He started his little Arena Records at the time. I don't know what it's called now, Arena Studios now. But that was pretty important to me. Now, me and Braden also had, me and he was playing a festival, opening up for a band called the Cuz Band in Cleveland. And there was a lot of people out there. I don't know what's the biggest crowd I played in front of, but there's had to been, I don't know, 3,000 people out there. I mean, the place was packed. That was a few years back. That was like 2021. But, you know, it was because we knew the Cuz Band.
Yeah.
They let me come up there. So
that's how the world works. And I mean, part of I'd been aware of this podcast studio in town with Josh, and I was sort of aware of Josh. And, and really the week that I was thinking about it, I always say, things come in, you know, not in pairs, but you keep seeing stuff. And I actually saw Braden's awesome video from, I was like, oh, Braden couldn't have filmed it, but it was the incredible professional quality. I don't know if it was Caledonia Days or Market Street. I don't know which one it was, but you still play clips from it. But I was like, that's what I need. And I told Josh, I'm like, well, if you can find him, and he's like, he's right in the room next door, actually, if you need him.
Oh, yeah.
Because part of my excuse when they talk statistically about trying to make it in the podcast world, was I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan. I really just like talking to people.
Yeah,
this is just like going to lunch,
yeah.
and I might as well come in here. But like, 80% of podcast people buy all this stuff, record one thing, and never publish it. And then, like, I think y'all told me the statistics were like 90% of them never get past the 11th episode, and 99% never get past episode 25 because they lose the momentum. Now, they can attest to it here as I keep doing. I've done one every day this week. They're like, you got to calm down a little bit, but it's pretty good.
Well, man, you talking about Braden. I know he's just over there.
I'm going to have to get him on the show.
I know, he needs to be on.
We're breaking the third wall here. So.
Braden is what I like about Braden, he's kind of the music. He knows everybody, man. He knows all the musicians around here. And I think the reason why he can depend on that dude, man. He, one time, I'll just a little quick story. One time we was playing at a bar in Indianola, and he remembers this. I had my drummer quit on me like 2 hours before the show started. And Indianola it's like a 2-hour drive.
It's fairly isolated, as the people
it may have been 3 hours before. It was close. He had to leave like right then. I called him up. He said, yeah, man, I'll be there. And he threw his drums in the truck and got over here and made it in time for the show and played the whole thing. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. Old Braden.
Well, that's awesome. So after Nashville, what was the next stop?
Yeah, we came back and we went down to the coast, did some festivals out there, and then came back. And now we're kind of just drifting around trying to find a good place for us to hang our hat or try to find a good music scene. We thought Nashville was going to be it, but it's hard it's a hard town, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We heard some good things that come out of Austin, Texas, with their music scene. And so it looks like that may be our next thing. That's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, part of it is just having enough people going to shows and stuff.
Yeah. The weird part about the music business is right now, even today, it's all online. Almost. I would say 90% of it's online. It's all about how many fans you got on social media and stuff like that.
Back home in New Orleans, I have a lot of friends who are musicians. And New Orleans has always been a problem for musicians because... So, like, growing up in my formative years, Dr. John and the Neville Brothers would play in New Orleans, and it would be an $8 ticket. And they'd be in Atlanta the next night, and it'd be $60. Because these guys have Grammys and stuff. But in New Orleans, you can see, like, a world-class blues musician playing at a Chick-fil-A. Like, I mean, it's too much, Right. And from what I've heard, that's not necessarily the problem in Nashville. The problem is that there's a lot of singer-songwriters going up there trying to get in, and
it's to the point where, like, a lot of places that, like downtown bars and stuff, like, you may have to pay to play up there to put your tip bucket out there, and I don't know, something like that. Just I see why they do it because there's just so much competition.
Well, and there's like 20 guys who are just performers up there who've got headsets and they can do George Strait and take it off and do Kid Rock.
That's
and do
right.
whatever.
That's
and
right.
They're good.
Oh, they're great.
They're entertaining. That's always the argument. You're trying to get a draw, you're entertaining. Well, right. Nashville is the draw, and that's the challenge in New Orleans is anybody with a trumpet is the draw. Right. So, like, my friend Kermit Ruffins, who's a multiple Grammy Award-winning trumpet guy, he's got to play some Dixieland stuff and be like, put on a show to make some money. So,
well, like me and my wife we honeymooned in New Orleans. We went to New Orleans for a while, and then went to Mexico. But, there's a lot of musicians out there. There's a lot of music out there, man.
Yeah.
And we thought about, even trying some of that out, trying to play out there. But
there's festivals. People ask me, like, you're not really into college football. I'm like, dude, we had stuff going on every Saturday.
Yeah.
And, and LSU wasn't that good when I was growing up, so that's their fault. So why don't you want to try to play another song? I'd like to see if you can time it from that era of when you're in Nashville or whatever, or just play whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, well... My song order's kind of been screwed up here, but
yeah, it doesn't matter.
I kind of messed it up, but that's okay. We're in Columbus, Mississippi, and I've been trying. I love this song, and this is a song I wrote about the river, the Tombigbee River. One thing I did with my dad when we were not out singing is we went fishing all the time on the Tombigbee River. We would fish from the Columbus Dam all the way to what I call the Tombigbee Bend, which is the big 90-degree turn when you're heading to Pickensville.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was imagining myself as a captain on a riverboat back in the day, even though that bend was probably a lot more curvy back then. So this is a song I called Tombigbee Bend. Tombigbee is a long, winding river. Been many a man who traveled on his way. The paddle boats are steaming, 'cause the river shore is streaming. And I'm gonna be a captain someday. Yes, I'm gonna be a captain someday. From Mississippi down to Alabama, the water's full of mud and the sky's gray. When Tibby Bell comes around, she'll blow her whistle sound, and I'm gonna be her captain someday. Yes, I'm gonna be her captain someday. Well, you can catch me on down Tombigbee Bend. Lord, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. If you miss me, come and kiss me, but I'll have to tell you when. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend. Well, people, hold on a little tighter. My buller's running hot, we're near the end. Ain't no wood left to burn, but we gotta make the turn. Gotta push on through that rambling river bend. Gotta push on through that rambling river bend. It takes a hard-working man to be a captain. You gotta know every mile of that river well. I have to be on time to collect the people's dime, 'cause I'm the captain of the Tibby Bell. Yes, I'm the captain of the Tibby Bell. Well, you can catch me on down Tombigbee Bend. Lord, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. If you miss me, come and kiss me, but I'll have to tell you when. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend. Well, you can catch me on down Tombigbee Bend. Lord, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. If you miss me, come and kiss me, but I'll have to tell you when. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend. You can find me on down Tombigbee Bend.
Woo!
All right.
Yeehaw! I have nearly wrecked several boats on the Tombigbee Bend, so
Yeah.
I know exactly where it is as an official boat captain.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little for people who are trying to get in the music business or whatever? I know you're in it, but you seem to have an excellent perspective about it, because there are people who have gone to Nashville for 2 entire weeks and been like, well, I haven't made it, I'm quitting. And and you know, if as long as your wife's on board with you, that you can live affordably and do really cool things in life and be a little more patient, and still you've made a living in music if you're living in a truck. Now, I don't know if you have to bag groceries on the side or whatever, donate blood or anything, but if you're making it and that's your perspective, like, I'm going to go try Texas, as opposed to, the video from the 1980s where somebody moves out to California they're like, I'm going to be a star. And they're like 6 weeks later, they're not,
Yeah. Moving to Nashville is always something that, I've thought about. The biggest thing from Nashville is just the amount of people, the network. That's all basically that I loved about, that I can see today. Why you don't have to go to Nashville to make it.
Yeah.
The only like the network is something that helps you out a lot. A lot of it's online, just the amount of patience that you have to have. You better be ready for some patience, because you're going to learn patience if you don't have it when you go into it. It's a long road. I mean, even if you've heard several songs, I'm sure, about how long the road is, but for some people get there quicker than others. Some people have more dedicated fans than others too.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to hit lightning in a bottle. Brady and I have talked about podcasts, and we're, like I said, we're interviewing a guy with millions of followers, and it's about to come out, and you don't know if the 80 people in Columbus are going to watch it, and nobody else is going to care, and if, Lord knows, if something happens. Ben Folds is a guy, he's a piano player, but he rescued Elvis's Studio B in Nashville, and about 20 years ago, we got to go up there and record with him. We recorded. They had like a little contest on Twitter, like first 50 people who say they can show up, and I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
And we go there and we got to tour the studio and stuff. And he was talking about, he's like, my most popular album to date that sold like 3 million hard copies. He goes, it came out on September 11th, like the September 11th, and he's like,
man.
And there's 3 or 4 other albums that came out that day that would have been huge for the bands, and everybody's just like, nobody wants to hear any happy, fun music this week, So you never know what's going against you or going. I always tell people to be cautious. They're like, well, I'm going to post it Friday at 5. I'm like, probably a bad time. She's like, why? I'm like, you don't realize this, but like politicians and companies do put out bad press releases Friday at 5, and then they're like, I'm going home. And there's and it's constantly changing, and it's different depending on, like you said, you might not catch on Instagram, but like we've got Terry Long as a friend of mine who runs Walk-On's Sports Place in Starkville, Mississippi. He's the biggest TikTok influencer in Starkville, Mississippi. He's got like almost 100,000 people following him. And he's funny, he's charming, but he's in Starkville, Mississippi.
Right.
There are people working every day in Nashville to get 10,000 TikTok followers. And, you can make it in a smaller town, or you can make it in the middle of nowhere. But it does. Sometimes you have to catch lightning in a bottle or catch somebody's attention. And,
well, do whatever you got to do if that's what you want to do. I mean, I love music. This is like, I'm going to do this till I die. I'm dead in the ground, kind of like Willie Nelson's doing it until he's dead in the ground too.
He had to pay some taxes too. He may have taken a pause if he hadn't gone several $1 million in debt.
I had one of my friends that was upset because he was not having as many shows as he wanted to. Hey, if you got to go cut grass to make sure that this suckers don't stop, you go cut grass. You do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to have a friend talk to you, or you have to talk to yourself and say, how hard are you really trying? I had a good example where, like, I couldn't get a wood floor finished, and because one guy let me down, another guy let me down, and I was like, and I stopped and looked at myself, and what would I tell somebody else I was trying to mentor? I'm like, have you really, really tried to get every single person? And so I went around to New Home Building and Lowe's and Cash and Carry and Paint Store, and I said, hey, give me every name you have for wood floors, guys who do wood floors. And I called like 70 people the next day. And I met 6 or 7 people now that was 3 years ago, who still do work for me. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing about shows. Like, have you really called everybody?
Right.
And nobody can ever do that. And that's maybe what an agent is for. But like, if it's 3:00 on a Friday, theoretically, and you wanted to play live music tonight, you could find a place. Now, you may not make any money. There may not be any there. But if you called every catfish wrestling place north of Mississippi, you'll find somebody who'd be like, yeah, you could come play somewhere. And luckily with Facebook now, at least you don't have the 2-week lead time of having it in a newspaper. Not just Facebook,
yeah, that's true.
but all of the social medias
every one of them.
All of the kids are on, which is a challenge again, because you've been through it even at your young age, that there was a beautiful time in 2020, the beginning of COVID, when every human being was on Facebook. And every event was on there. Yeah. And Mr. President and COVID and all these other things split that up, and kids don't want to be on this. Instagram is huge for college crowds, TikToks. So now you're back to the point where you kind of have to have an ad in the paper and add this and add this and add this to catch attention. So
that's true. When I started doing this, like I said, I'm going to do this like professionally, and this is just what I'm going to do. It was mainly when I decided to go to Delta State in Cleveland. That was 2020. And man, I started my whole music business up on the stimulus that the government gave all the college students. It was $500. I used that to make a little CD, and sold those CDs for $15 a piece, and used that money to get my next album. I started all this on COVID. I mean, that's just how it happened. But
yeah. Well, in some respects, the social media and all that makes it more of a meritocracy where it's fair. Like, if you're good, you're going to do it. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, it's unfair, too, because, you don't know. You can get buried in SoundCloud, and now I call it an epidemic, but there's AI recordings coming out.
Oh, yeah.
That are are pretty good. Mississippi State Radio promised they weren't going to play more than one a day, but they played one today, and they say right before like this produced with AI, and it's not real, And I was like, it's a pretty catchy song too, and that's why I think that, and I think that's why they're performing in person.
I think it. You're gonna they make music with AI, but you don't have that person behind it. I guess you can't. They can't replicate. I guess people like a personality, I guess emotions and stuff, right? I don't know. I haven't listened to some of them.
Yeah, I think the live performance is the key to that because, like, I've gotten involved with our local theater here the last couple of years, and I tell people when I'm coaching them in real estate, like, you have to do this stuff in real life.
Yeah.
And my favorite feature of life is that you can transfer energy from one person to another. Like, you can walk in the room, and if you're having a bad day and you're going to play, it's going to be a bad show.
Oh, yeah.
And you can have
That's true.
You can have a roadie ruin, you can have a manager of a bar or something ruin your time before you go up there.
That's true. I always tell my band, you have a good time is the most important thing. If you have a good time, the crowd will too.
Oh, that's it was a luxury growing up in New Orleans and seeing that and talking like casually to people. Alan Toussaint, who won like 40 Grammys, and I used to see him at small piano places, and we'd just be talking as if we were like stand-up comics backstage,
Right.
I would be quiet, but I was just like, this dude's awesome, and like then he'd kind of go shake himself a little, and he'd walk out there, and he just. Yeah. Work in the room. Anybody told him it was their birthday, he'd play him a birthday song. Yeah. And he had 30 Grammys, but he was doing the $10 show, just to stay sharp. And it's an amazing skill set.
Just because you got a Grammy doesn't mean anything, or it means a lot, but it doesn't mean that all your problems are solved with money wise.
No, you don't.
I had a friend that went to school with us. She got a Grammy, and she moved back to Grenada to start up her own business.
I keep referring to Toby Keith, which I was aware of Toby Keith in the early 2000s, like everybody was, and then I heard Willie Nelson speak highly of him, saying that he's an outsider, and I like that he stood up to the Nashville music scene and did his own thing, and I was like, all right, like I may not agree with a bunch of stuff about him, but I was just like, that's kind of cool to hear that he was like, I'm going to do this on my own if you don't like me,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Toby Keith. Sometimes it takes somebody being an outsider, somebody gets so big like a guy that I'm a big fan of, Charlie Crockett. If you ever heard of him, he's kind of getting big in Nashville now, but he didn't play many shows in Nashville to start out because nobody would have him. But he started getting this fan base everywhere else that now Nashville almost can't say no to the guy. It's funny how that works out, but
yeah, well, and a lot of times they want the formula or whatever's hot, whether it's slow talk rap country or something like that. Because what's his name? Jacob Bryan, Pink Skies. Who's that?
Oh, yeah, Zach Bryan.
Zach Bryan. So took my daughter down in New Orleans, and we saw Zach Bryan, and Jason Isbell opened for him. And even Zach Bryan repeatedly said, this doesn't. We're at the Superdome. Jason Isbell's like, this is the biggest place I've ever played. And like Zach Bryan
crazy how fast he got big.
Yeah, and Zach Bryan leaned in for the third time. Like Zach Bryan came on and introduced him. He's like, I have no idea why Jason Isbell is opening for me, and I'm not whatever.
Right.
And then he played that, and Isbell comes out for his encore, and he's like, this is really the biggest show I've ever played. And Zach Bryan goes, like, you hear him from the side of the stage, he goes, again, Jason Isbell should not be opening for me.
Yeah.
And my daughter was like, in her life, she's 18. She's like, this doesn't make sense. This guy's been around 2 years, and somebody else has been around 25.
Right. Jason Isbell's been doing it for long.
Yeah, he's a performer. Like I took a picture of that show, and I was like, it looks like it hurts him if he can't play live music. Right. Like it just pains him to not be able to get out there and do it. And I think one of my goals is to get my wife and kids up to see him at the Ryman, because I think he does 6 or 7 shows in a row,
Yeah, maybe. You talking about Jason Isbell?
Jason Isbell. Yeah. Zach he can play that. That's cool.
Exactly.
I'm not against him. Like he put on, like again, a show. Oh my God, the show was incredible.
My story about Zach Bryan, going back to that McCluskey guy I was talking about from Chicago, he invited me to that festival in Chattanooga. Well, Zach Bryan was like on the bill, and I got to go backstage, so I'm hanging out with all these Kev Mo. You know who Kev Mo?
Yeah, I know very well.
I was like, how did this happen?
That
Amy Grant was there, and Charlie Crockett was there, but Zach Bryan was there too. But you couldn't talk to the guy because he had a group of folks around him. I've never seen somebody smoke somebody's cigarettes before he went out there. We was counting them. He was like 1, 2, 3. I mean, he smoked like 3 or 4 cigarettes before.
What are you saying? He plays well.
And then he walked up there, sung, came back down, and smoked about 6 more. I mean, it was like a freight train, man.
I couldn't imagine that because he played like his show was over 2 hours at the Superdome.
I know.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that. But that's what he did. He was right there standing at the steps, just one after another. I was like, how does somebody inhale like hot smoke and then go out there and sing for 2 hours? You know.
No, I've seen it in my younger life with bands and stuff. But the best analogy I have is we have an air show here every other year.
Yeah.
And at the air show, like the F-22 guys are there to fly the fancy planes. And so like they're there and the local, the pilots from the base are like, oh, you're the F-22 guys. And then like the trick show guys come in who have the trick show planes. And F-22 guys are like, oh my God, you're the best in the world. And then the guy that owns the Soviet MiG 50-year-old airplane, all those guys are like, oh my God. And that's how I feel like about Keb Mo or somebody like that. Because there's these little pockets of like musical geniuses who aren't the headliner. Yeah. But everybody would be like,
definitely. He wasn't a headliner, but
everybody's probably just
he's a legend.
Yeah, people like you got to see him.
Oh yeah, it was neat because I always heard about him. I know some of his stuff. Richard Miller was a big fan of Keb Mo, and I'm just sitting there at a table, and there's Keb Mo right there, and I was like, man, I respect your music, man. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool to be able to see that.
Did not think that was gonna happen, but it did. So it was pretty neat.
That's good. That can be on your own poster when you're going through Texas. I'm like, yeah, I performed with Keb Mo one time. Yeah. That's what I say. Like I was like, well, I recorded with Ben Folds, and who's he's got a bunch of Grammys and he ran the National Symphony Orchestra. Yeah. I'm like, I recorded with him. They're like, what'd you do? I'm like, oh, we played cell phone tones in the background of one of his songs. I'm like, but I recorded with a Grammy Award winning guy, so that counts, I think, and that's why I'm on WCBI for like 3 minutes a week here, and they won an Emmy. I'm like, did I win an Emmy? Did I win an Emmy, or am I part of an Emmy award-winning team? So I'd ride that till the end of the earth there. So, well, tell me a little bit about what you have coming up. So starting with the single.
Yeah, so we got a single coming out September 5th. Big song. I've been holding on to it for years. I wrote this literally the day I left Farm Bureau and went to work here with Josh Gillis. And
this isn't a song where we're slamming Farm Bureau or anything.
No.
Well, you already sang about the river. I didn't know if we were just like Andy Hubbard at Farm Bureau.
This song's called "The Man That Killed Susan Talley," and it's kind of a murder ballad, Western style, about a guy that was kind of framed for shooting Susan Talley, even though he wasn't the guy, just because he kind of looked like him. And it's kind of a murder ballad. The crazy part is, when I was talking about Farm Bureau, I needed a name I didn't know what I wanted to name the lady that got shot. And the last lady I did insurance for was Susan Talley. And so I just put it in there, and it just never changed.
I know a lot of Tallies, so I'm going to be asking some people some questions tonight.
I know where she lives. I did her house insurance.
Okay. Well, if there's any
she's a nice lady.
If there's any royalties off of it, we'll just make sure she didn't get to hear the podcast.
Yeah, The Man That Killed Susan Talley. But it's our first big full production Western song. It's like watching a movie kind of thing. But it comes out September 5th on everything, Amazon Music, everything.
Now, what's the best place if people want to support you? Because I ask people this all the time. I've had Michael Farris Smith, who's an author. I'm like, should they buy the book through Amazon or at the bookstore or call you for it or something? Like music-wise, if somebody's going to press play, is there a best spot for them to do it with you?
Spotify. On Spotify, that's where I get most of my numbers from. The best way, if anybody ever wants to support my music, the best way to do it right now is to go to my website, masonhonnoll.com, and get one of our T-shirts, our brand new T-shirts.
2 N's, 2 L's?
2 N's, 2 L's. Honnoll. Mason Honnoll. There we go. masonhonnoll.com, and they can get one of our T-shirts, and that's our best way to support right now. But for music, Spotify or Apple Music, one of those two.
Yeah, and I've heard people have different things, but musicians I've talked to, but like when I say where to buy it, and they're like, well, part of the reason Spotify is better because it kind of reminds the people that I'm there, like when it gets on their lists and stuff, whereas like I don't know about you, but like I have Apple Music, and whatever songs I listen to, it just keeps playing the same songs.
Yeah. I used to listen on Apple Music too, but I switched to Spotify. Spotify is kind of the industry standard streaming for music right now.
I had to reset my entire Amazon Music thing because like the first thing I listened to it on it like 8 years ago when the app came out was I just typed in Jason Isbell. I'm like, I think I like him, Avon Brothers, that sort of thing. And then it played Southeastern, his album. And then, and it's funny, I got retweeted by him. So my closest touch to stardom. But I said I was under the mistaken impression for the last 3 years that Southeastern was Jason Isbell's greatest hits. Because I kept listening to it. I'm like, I know every word to every song. And then I'm like, he retweeted that. I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm off. No more. I usually stick to the New Orleans Saints trash talk on Twitter. Yeah. That's about all I can do. So
what I like about Amazon Music, somebody can say, "Hey Alexa, play the so and so, the man that killed Susan Talley," and it plays it.
There you go.
That's what I like about it.
So, are you going to play that, or you need to play something else?
No, I'm going to play that.
Okay,
I'm going to play The Man That Killed Susan Talley. We come out September 5th. This is my version. This is my acoustic version. Here we go. Last Monday afternoon while I was sleeping beneath the shade of a big willow tree, two men tied me up as they took me to the pen. They said the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Well, old Susan was the daughter of the mayor, and he said that dirty savage killer can't be free. But the woman who watched her die from the bullet between the eyes said the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Well, I screamed and I hollered to let me go. I said, fellers, you're mistaken, let me be. Last night I was on the town with my future bride-to-be, but the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Well, they threw me in the Monroe County Jail, and they locked me up tight with that prison key. I turned and told the sheriff, you can go straight to hell, but the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Well, into the courtroom I did go, and the judge said, son, what is your plea? Not guilty, I yelled just before the gavel fell, but the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Well, up on the platform of the gallows, the preacher said, the Lord will set me free, but soon I'll be in the ground in a grave 6 feet deep for a man that killed Susan Talley that looks just like me. Well, now I'm lying neath the dirt, neath the shade of a big willow tree. They buried the wrong man and they'll be killing once again, 'cause the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me. Yes, the man that killed Susan Talley looks just like me.
Yeehaw, man.
All right.
On a behind the scenes thing for people, and I know this, I do a lot of public speaking and stuff, but I have a harder time practicing theater stuff or singing in front of my wife or some stranger I just met in a podcast. Is it easier or harder for you, the same doing in front of 400 people as doing in front of 4?
It's easier doing in front of more people.
Yes.
Yeah, for real. It puts up, when you have a bunch of people, puts a wall up, man.
It puts up a wall.
It's always harder to sing at church for me. Now,
but especially
it's the opposite of what it used to be. Used to
the safe space or whatever.
Safe space. Now it's like you got to have your crap together because that's what they expect.
Yeah, there's some especially in the Baptist community. There's some production value going on,
that's
and
right.
Plus if there's an older crowd, anybody over 50, somebody there is not going to like whatever direction you're headed with that music.
That's right. But we have a good time, But yeah, it's always easier playing. I would say the more people, the easier it is.
Yeah, that's how me for speaking. The best public speaking advice or performing advice I got was like, everybody there wants you to succeed. They do not want you to watch you suck on these next 3 songs or whatever. Like they really want you to be good. So, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you doing that in this intimate environment here. Where
it's great, man.
You never know. You might have a hip hop guy
One of my favorite concerts was actually in the Columbus Arts Council in that theater upstairs. Intimate theater, but hey.
No, it's groovy. It's a little, I call it our little bitty Ryman right there with the
it's a nice little place. Stuff. I need to get back in touch with them and play another show out there.
Quan Walker, who runs the Columbus Arts Council, you knew that?
I haven't met her yet.
Okay.
I got to go meet her.
She's awesome. They're having a huge event tonight. So this is the season for events. You get through this weekend and it's like concert.
Right.
So, all right, well, this should be coming out right before your album or your single comes out. Tell them one last time how to find you, where to buy it, where to download it.
Yeah, just Mason Honnoll on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's a big one. You can find this song, The Man That Killed Susan Talley, on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that's streaming music right now. And you can also, a good way to support is to go to the website Mason Honnoll, MasonHonnoll.com, and get you one of our new T-shirts.
Well, groovy. Yeah. And most of your social media is going to be Mississippi Mason, though.
It's all Mason Honnoll.
Oh, it's all Mason Honnoll? But you are the Mississippi Mason, so.
Yeah, Mississippi Mason, that's my AKA name.
AKA name when you're causing trouble?
You can type in there Mississippi Mason on Google. Yeah. Same guy.
All right. Yep. Easy peasy. Thanks for coming in today.
Yes,
we appreciate having you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.